If the Lord's done anything for you, just give him a round of applause. If God's been good to you, just give him one time. If he's blessed you, if he's put your life in God, if he's ever carried you when you didn't have the strength to carry yourself, somebody just say thank you. I don't know what you've been through, I don't know what you're going through, but I do know who can carry you through. I said, I don't know what you're going through, I don't know what you've been through, but I know who can carry you through. I know there's a God in heaven who sits high, but he still looks low, and he sees all that he's created, and he still looks at it and calls it good. Said, I don't know what you've been through, I don't know what you're going through, but God still looks at you and says, that's my son. I made it in my image and I still call it good. There's nobody like you, Lord. Nobody. I want to give honor to the Spirit of Christ. Thank God for just being who he is and being good to all of us. We're going to go ahead and turn to Acts chapter 5. Just going to go ahead and jump right into the word.
Go on, jump in there.
I feel like some of us need to hear it today.
Wow.
Hopefully they're tuned in on Facebook. Hopefully they're watching somewhere. Or hopefully they'll watch it when we repost it. Maybe they'll go to freshbreadcm.com and they'll see it there, or they'll want to give there, or maybe they'll even want to send something to the Cash App. Fresh Bread C, I believe. Fresh Bread C. Because it's time for us to do better.
Better.
We gotta do better. So if you want to give to the ministry, there's many ways to give. I just named a few. freshbreadcm.com. You can donate there. Cash App, Fresh Bread C. Fresh Bread, the letter C. Or you can give here. And we'll keep in mind that those tithing envelopes are to keep record of what you've given. Only if you want to receive something at the end of the year for your taxes. If you don't want to maintain records, you can feel free to just drop it in the receptacle. You don't have to put it in an envelope. You don't have to lick the envelope. You don't have to write your name on it. You don't have to do anything special if you just want to give something. But if you want to maintain a record of it, then put it in that envelope. Because y'all know those envelopes do cost money. Acts chapter 5. Y'all can relax. We're not talking about money today.
Talk to him.
After what I just said and what I'm about to read, it may seem that way, but we're not. Y'all do what y'all gonna do. That's between you and your God, what you give. But as for me and my household, we're gonna do what we said we're gonna do.
Amen. I'm listening.
Acts chapter 5, verse 1 says, Now a man named Ananias, together with his wife Sapphira, also sold a piece of property. With his wife's full knowledge, he kept back part of the money for himself, but brought the rest and put it at the apostles' feet. Then Peter said, Ananias, how is it that Satan has so filled your heart that you have lied to the Holy Spirit and have kept for yourself some of the money you received for the land? Didn't it belong to you before it was sold?
Yes, it did.
And after it was sold, wasn't the money at your disposal?
Yes, it was.
What made you think of doing such a thing? You have not lied to men, but to God.
Watch out.
When Ananias heard this, he fell down and died. And great fear seized all who heard what had happened. Then the young men came forward, wrapped up his body, and carried him out and buried him. About 3 hours later, his wife came in, not knowing what had happened. So Peter asked her, Tell me, is this the price you and Ananias got for the land? Yes, she said, that is the price.
That's it.
Peter said to her, How could you agree to test the Spirit of the Lord? Look, the feet of the men who buried your husband or at the door, and they will carry you out also. At that moment, she fell down at his feet and died. Then the young men came in and finding her dead, carried her out and buried her beside her husband. I want to talk to you for a minute about the price.
The price.
Better yet, I'll ask you a question and say, is this the price?
Is this the price? Come on, talk to us.
I don't know how many of you have ever been shopping before and you saw something that you liked.
Watch out now, watch out.
You saw something that you wanted. Maybe it was a pair of shoes, an article of clothing. Maybe you went to one of the fancy stores that didn't feel the need to really label their stuff real big because they feel like if you can afford it, then you know you can just get it. You know, if you don't have the money, you shouldn't even be there. But I don't know about you, but I don't always get to go to those stores. So sometimes I go to Walmart, and I know just yesterday I was at Kroger and I was looking for some meat, some discounted meat to throw on the grill. Because I know they have a section where they'll put some discounted meat, and it don't cost me as much to get what I want. You know, I can get it at a bargain price. I can get it for a discount. So I was looking through the discounted area and I grabbed something, and even though it said it was supposed to be discounted, it still seemed a little high to me. So I wanted to find somebody to ask them, is this
The price.
the price? Because it just seemed like it was a little bit
All
too
right,
high.
come on. The price too high. Come
I
on.
don't know if you
I'm walking
understand what I'm
with you.
saying, but I know sometimes the price seems too high now.
Come on,
It does.
talk about
It does. I don't know about you, but I got into the Word of God and I got into the church and I thought things were going to be a little bit easier. I thought things were going to get a little bit better. I thought there was maybe a discount for serving God. I thought maybe I would get a bargain for being saved. I thought maybe if I got saved, if I gave my life to Jesus, maybe He would lower the prices for me. Maybe He would give me some favor. But sometimes it seems like the price just too high. It seems like it's a little too hard. It seems like people just don't get on the same page. It seems like we say, but I don't love you like I should, and you don't love me like you should. But I was told that this was the discount section. I was told that I would get a bargain. I was told that it was better. And now I'm looking saying, is this the price?
Come on, son. That's real good. That's real good.
I don't know if you understand what I'm saying right now, but is this the price?
That's real good, son. That's real good.
They gonna talk about me?
Yes, a lot.
They gonna leave me? They gonna slander my name? They gonna lie on me? They gonna talk about me? They gonna make up false? Is this the price?
That's good. That's good.
They gonna mistreat me? They gonna steal my ideas? They gonna betray my friendship?
That's a price.
They gonna say I wasn't there for them? That's all I tried to do.
That's a big price.
Is this the price, Najee? I thought this was the discount section. I thought it was easier over here.
Son. Come on, son. That's good. That's good.
So I put the meat back.
All right.
This can't be price. This can't be price. Come on, you in there. Keep going.
See, I did that in the natural, but I know some people that are doing that in the spiritual, saying this can't be the price.
Can't be.
You know, I know I said I was going to be there, but this can't be the price. I know I said I come to church. I said I lead that organization. You know, I said I lead that ministry. I said I play. I said I do that, but this can't be the price. I can't come back because this price too high. You expect too much. You want me to be excellent? Come on now. That's too much. You want me to be there on time? You want me to be there early? That's too much. The price just got too high. I'm just going to put this meat back.
That's real good. That's real good.
Because this is supposed to be the discount section. If it's going to be this high, I might as well just go to the other section and pay the regular price.
Buy it at the dollar store.
Oh, Lord. See, the church, they costing me too much.
Come on.
It's costing me too much to be saved. It's costing me too much to be committed. It's costing me too much. I might as well just go back to the other section. You know, because over there, at least, you know, the meat quality good. You know, because
And
that's what I've been told.
It seemed like
That's what I've been. Even it's the same meat, same department, same hypocrite, same liars, same backbiter. But I thought this was a discount. I might as well go over here because at least they won't treat me. Well, they do still treat me bad over here too. But in the church, so I thought it was going to be different. It's the same people. I know it's the same people. But I thought it was going to be different. I don't know. I stuck my toe when I was unsaved and it hurt, but I thought if I hit my toe again when I got saved, it wouldn't hurt no. But then I found that I still get sick. I still go into debt. I still have problems. I thought this was a discount set, and you telling me this the price? Come on, somebody.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
This price
Just put the meat back.
too high.
That's good.
So I flip over and
Come on.
I look for some level of knowledge, some level of wisdom. So I look to this man that we said was one of the wisest to ever live.
Come on, let's talk about something.
Solomon.
Well,
And over in Ecclesiastes 5, we'll start at 4. He says, when you make a vow to God, do not delay in fulfilling it. He has no pleasure in fools. Fulfill your vow. For it is better not to vow than to make a vow and not fulfill it.
all right.
So if I want to be committed, the first step on that journey is just simply doing what I said I was going to do.
All right.
No matter how much the price is,
Show us, Lord.
no matter how much it costs me,
Yes.
if I make a vow, I have to fulfill it. Because when God makes a promise to me, I expect him to fulfill it. If I purchase the meat, I expect it to taste a certain way. But if I don't cook it right, if I don't treat it right, if I don't do the right preparation, then it's not going to be right. What is he saying? If I don't do what I'm supposed to do, yeah, the organization's going to fall apart. If I don't make up my commitment, then yeah, things are going to look like they in shambles. If I don't do what I'm supposed to do, then yeah, it's going to be trouble in the house.
Show us, Lord. Show us.
Because I made a commitment. See, you can pay the price, but then you still got to do some work after that.
You gotta do a lot of work.
I don't know if you ever cooked before, but just because you bought it don't mean you can eat it the way it is. You got to pay the price, but then you got to put some work in behind it. Yeah.
That's right.
You talking real good.
You are talking real good.
See, you got to pay the price, Nigel, but then you got to work, right?
Yes, sir.
You can start the business, but then the customers don't just run in the door. Come on, somebody. I'm talking right to you.
Yes, you talking real good.
There's a lot of people that launch businesses and just think people going to run in there and buy what you got. No, you got to put some work in. You got to let them know what you have. You got to advertise. You got to make sure the quality of your product is right for your customers. When you buy some meat, you got to make sure you prepare it right. You got to season it right. You can't just sprinkle a little bit of salt on there. You got to season that thing right. And then you got to cook it for the right amount of time. And then you can expect that it's going to be what you wanted it to be.
With the right amount of heat to it, too.
Amen.
But if you don't do what you're supposed to
Come
do,
on, son. You talking good.
you can't expect the meat to be flavored just right. Somewhere in the Bible I read that we are the salt. And we give things
Come on,
flavor.
son.
Come on now.
But we don't want to put in the work to season it just right. Now we wondering why it tastes like this.
Your seasoning off.
Leaving a bitter taste in my mouth. I went to church and I tried to hug her and she just looked at me sideways. I went home feeling worse than I did when I got there.
Come on, you talking good.
Now, we say they were salty, but sometimes, we got to be the salt. We got to add the flavor. When you use the salt right, it'll add the flavor. But if you put too much salt,
You're too salty.
if you get too salty,
It ain't good.
you can mess around and kill somebody.
All right now.
Anybody heard of high blood pressure, hypertension? That's what happens when you get too salty.
You
gotta have the right
real
amount of
good.
salt.
Keep rolling. Keep rolling.
I'll go on to the second
Come
point.
on, work with it. Show us, Lord.
It's difficult to preach because you still got to look at the people afterwards, but sometimes you got to say some things that gonna hurt people's feelings.
He's showing us us. Let's go.
Like I tell my wonderful wife, I would rather be hurt by the truth than murdered by a lie. You know, the truth might hurt, but I'll get over it.
It hurt one time.
I'll get over it. You know, a lie, that'll leave a lasting pain. So I'd rather you just tell me the truth and give me some time to get over it than beat me up with a lie that's going to hurt me for a long time. So I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all the truth. Over in 1 Thessalonians.
Come on, let's talk.
Let's say 4th chapter.
Walk it down.
I keep flipping because me and my wonderful note-taking didn't write down the actual verse. 1 Thessalonians 4.
Let's talk about this. Come on.
I really believe it's 11. It is 11. But the problem is I got this different translation. So when you study in one translation, you got to preach from the same translation because then the words change and it'll mess you up. So it says in verse 11 of 1 Thessalonians 4, make it your ambition to lead a quiet life, to mind your own business, and to work with your hands just as we told you. I want to pull out one real quick thing right there. And if you're real smart, you already know where I'm going with it. Because when you make a commitment, the second thing you need to do
Work it.
is mind your own business. And we can combine it with that and say, work it. You know, you need to mind your own business and work your own vow, your own commitment. So when you make a commitment, the first thing you need to do is what? Do what you said you was going to do. The second thing you need to do is what? Mind your own business. You know, we in the church.
What you supposed to do.
So we'll keep it clean. But mind your business. You ever went to somebody's house and seen a picture crooked? You ever went to somebody's house, and we'll make it real plain, and we'll make it so you can really understand. You ever went to somebody's house and I'm not sure who phone it on the slide right there. You ever take a seat in somebody's house and you go over there? It may be the most beautiful woman you ever met in your life, or the most handsome man, and you really just want to date them, you want to talk to them, and you take a seat at their house, and a roach crawls by.
You start looking at everything.
And then it disappeared. And now you got to spend the rest of your time not focused on this person, but focused on where did that roach go. That's how we get into church.
Come on, work with it, son. Work with it. You working it real good.
That's how we get into church. Little distraction. We no longer focused on the bigger picture, what we're here for. You know, I'm not worried about you anymore. I know I came here for you, but something happened. And now I got to figure out some more because I need more information. Because when you get in the church, you need all the information for some reason.
Yeah, come on.
When you're in the world, if you go on a job and they tell you to do something, you just do it. You don't ask a lot of questions. But when you get saved and you get in the church, now for some reason you got to know everything that's happening. So what did she say? Exactly. Then what he did. And then what she said. And then that's really what happened. And now all I'm doing is gossiping because I'm really not contributing anything to the conversation to fix it. I'm just spreading some stuff. I need to know what's going on. I need to know where it is. I need to know how it's happening. Forget what I came here for. Forget my vows. Forget my commitment. Forget that I'm here for God. Forget that I came here to do something. Forget that I have a purpose. Forget that I have a commitment. Forget that I have all this stuff God has given me. Forget that He's been good. Forget that He's delivered me. Forget all that. Some just went, it's a roach in the house.
All right.
That's real good. That's real good.
And see, as the homeowner, it's now my job to do some house cleaning.
That's correct.
All right.
Because that's my job.
Well.
It's not your job.
Got to give
You don't have to come to my house and clean my house.
Thank you.
I'm going to clean my house.
Show us us, Lord. Show us us.
Matter of fact, if you my real friend, just let me know. And you know, you got roaches. Half the time they already know, but sometimes they don't know what to do about it. But if you got something good, you can offer them to help them to solve that problem. Man, you know I had roaches too at one point in time. But let me tell you how I got rid of that problem.
That's right.
See, that to me is what Christianity is. I had a roach once. But let me tell you what I did to get rid of it. See, I had a problem before, but let me tell you who helped me. Come on, somebody. Ain't nobody praying with me this morning. If you got a problem, you got to let somebody know. And if you had that problem, you can help that person. But if you don't know what you're talking about and you don't know what you're doing, just keep your mouth closed. Mind your own business and do what you said you were going to do.
Amen. That's right. Yep. That's
Come on,
real
Israel.
good.
I got one. Praise the Lord.
Fix it. Work it. Work it. Work it.
So he tells them, mind your own business. Why? Because when we flip back over to St. John.
Come on, let's walk through it.
In chapter 14, about verse 12, he says, I tell you the truth. Anyone who has faith in me will do what I have been doing. He will do even greater things than these. Because I'm going to the Father. So when we make a commitment, the first thing we must do is do what we say we're going to do. The second thing is we have to mind our own business. We can't worry about what everybody else is doing. We have to do what we're supposed to do. The third thing we have to do when we make a commitment is to continue to do greater. Do greater works. Improve. Get better. See, Jesus came as an example. He said, this is what I'm doing to teach you what you need to do. But I'm going to leave. And then I expect greater from you.
That's right.
Last week we saw the loss of a rapper by the name of Nipsey Hussle. And a lot of people, it's all over social media, it's all over the place. I don't know Nipsey's status as far as religion. I don't know whether he was a Christian. I don't know whether he was Muslim. I don't know what he was. But what I know is he was making an impact. So you have some people that take the money that they make and they use it for ill-gotten means. I remember an interview back when Nipsey was, before he was even really on, he was asked by somebody, why don't you have all the bling on? Why don't you buy all the jewelry? And he said, why would I spend money on that when I can spend it on real estate? When I can spend it on something that really matters. So after he did make it into the industry and started making more money, he started making a greater impact. He started buying up houses and flipping those houses and making those houses better, not everywhere else, but in his own hood.
In his own
neighborhood. He made a vow to, I don't know whether it was his God or just himself, that I'm going to make a difference. And then he wasn't worried about what everybody else around him did. He just focused on what he could do. And then he continued to improve and get better and better and better. That's all commitment is. I'm going to tell you something today that may shock you, but everybody in the church is not a good person.
Well,
you just told the truth.
Everybody in the church is not committed to doing the right thing.
They can, but that's the case.
But on the flip side, everybody that's in the world and not in the church is not a bad person.
Come on, you're telling the truth.
See, I'm trying to tell you, it doesn't take salvation to make a change.
well,
It doesn't take Jesus to do something good.
Come on, tell the truth.
But you're in a different section. You should be labeled different.
Section 8.
You shouldn't have the same price tag as everybody else. You shouldn't look the same as everybody else. You shouldn't speak the same as everybody else. You shouldn't do the same thing. So there should be some way for me to differentiate between the discount section and the regular section. There should be some way of knowing. See, you don't have to be in the church to be a good person, but if you're in the church, you should at least be a loving person.
Amen.
If you're in the church, you should be a committed person. Meaning that I've given myself to God and God has given himself to me. So now I made a commitment because he made a commitment. And whatever the commitment is that I made, that's what I'm going to do. Amen. But church doors close every day because the people are uncommitted.
Come on, you telling the truth.
Preachers keep showing up and they keep on preaching. And people feel like, well, he got to preach this. Who gonna pay that mortgage? And who gonna buy that Cadillac? And who gonna do this? And who gonna do that? But I'm gonna tell you something. Contrary to popular belief, there's a few mega churches. But the smaller churches are the ones that really serve the most people.
That's correct.
And those smaller churches don't have pastors that are driving off in Rolls Royces.
Well,
They don't even have pastors a lot of times that are collecting a check. They just there because they made a commitment
And they're keeping it.
to God. And they realize that if they don't keep their vow, that they'll mess around and drop dead before the feet of the Father. So they keep coming until the last person leaves so that they can go to God and say, I did
What you told me to do. That's the truth. That's the truth.
But as children of God, as members of an organization, as members of a church, if we don't uphold our commitment, we can't be surprised when the house gets full of roaches. Now we're full of distractions, and every time I come for the word, all I see is roaches.
well.
I can't focus on what I'm supposed to be focused on because I keep paying attention to the roaches. But I made a commitment. Even if the roaches showed up, I made a commitment.
Watch it.
I'm going to make one last hard statement and then I'm going to close.
Yeah.
It's time to kill these roaches.
Yes. That's the truth. Got that one?
If you didn't come to do the work of the Lord, if you don't want to do the work of the Lord, if you don't want to be committed, just leave the house. We don't need no roaches.
I'll amen it.
But I'm going to say this. As I look around, I'm grateful for every face I see.
Amen.
I'm grateful for everybody in here because I believe that a lot of you have made a commitment that you're keeping.
Thank you, Lord.
And I'm not going to be an idiot or a fool and stand up here and act like everybody's failing and stand up here and act like nobody's doing what they're supposed to be doing because there's some good people in the house.
Amen.
No matter how many roaches you keep coming back. No matter how many issues you keep coming back saying, I'm going to do what I said I was going to do. I don't care about you. You don't have to go back to the house. I know you're scared of the roaches. You don't have to go, but I'm going. And if I see a roach, I might kill the roach. But if I see a roach, I might tell somebody. If I see a roach, I might take some spray with it. If I see a roach, I might go and educate myself on how to get rid of the roaches because I'm tired of the roaches in the house. But I'm going back to the house. No matter how many roaches I see, I'm going back and back and back until all the roaches gone or until I don't see them no more. All I know is I'm committed no matter what the price is. If you committed and you mean it, just stand to your feet this morning.
Hallelujah.
I'm not going to get mad if you don't stand up. Maybe your foot hurt, maybe your ankle twisted. But if you are truly committed to doing what God has called you to do, just stand on your feet and say, God, I receive you today.
I receive you today.
Because it's my belief that when we commit ourselves to God and when we do what He has asked us to do, He will do something in our lives to let us know that He still has our back. So I'm grateful today that no matter how many times I've fallen, no matter how many times I've bumped my foot, no matter how many times I've messed up, God has still upheld His commitment to me. So I thank you today. The doors of the church are open. If you're in need of salvation, a church home, or prayer, the doors are open to you. God bless you.